live alone in the country. I'm in a small town, about 300 people tops, with the larger town hardly 3 miles away, with the closest city being 10 minutes away. So while the town is quiet, the area is pretty dense. I live on the outskirts of the town, typical country shit. Large field out back just off my garden, small, quiet roads, and mostly older people in the houses around me. For context, I'm around 18 to 25 years old, so especially young for the town. And the story starts in October 2019. So, there I was in my room enjoying myself with particular items. It's about 9 p.m. Blinds are open. I was never all too concerned with leaving the blinds open. There are no buildings or paths or any sort of infrastructure out back, just a field with a line of trees and a random tree near my home in the field. So there I was, doing my thing, when I heard a slight tap on the window. The past few weeks were pretty stressful, and so I needed this distraction, so I just simply ignored it. A few moments later, another tap. Again, I ignored it, but I took note of it, thinking that if I heard it again, I'd get something on and take a look out the window. A couple minutes go by. Again, another tap. So, true to myself, I got my tack suit on and took a look out the window. I couldn't see much, to be honest. The winter moon cast shadows and painted everything facing me a deep, black, real horror movie shit. I stand at the window, legs slightly shaking, and I saw nothing. If there was someone there, I was either blind or they were in the shadows of either my garden or the tree in the field. I went over to the bedside table and grabbed my phone. Returning to my window, I switched on the light. The light didn't really do all too much, only lighting up the front portion of my garden. 2 days later, a similar situation, though I was fully clothed and was instead on my phone. A tap at the window, and this time I acted on the first one, getting up, turning on the torch on my phone. Again, nothing. I stood there for a few moments, and again, another tap. Thankfully, I saw it this time. Someone was throwing a small pebble at my window every so often. I quickly closed the blinds and headed to the room I use for my cousin whenever he stays over. Sleeping in that room didn't feel all too good, and it took ages for me to sleep. Waking up the next day, I went outside. I checked the garden, finding by the fence a backpack next to the tree. Now, there wasn't a terror scare at this point, but it was still in my mind, so I hoped to God this wasn't the setup for a terror attack. After all, what would be the point in attacking this town where there is a city 12 miles from here? I opened up the bag and to find a load of aerosol cans of all sorts. Lynx, spray paint, and Febreze for some reason. I picked up the bag and dumped it in the bins outside. Looking back on it, I thought it was just kids looking to axe bomb someone out of pure boredom. The contents of the bag mostly fit. 2, maybe 3 nights go by, and I'm typing stuff up on my laptop, and again, another tap on the window. By this point, this was starting to honestly worry me. I just stayed at the desk, which was out of the line of sight for the window. It didn't take long for them to stop and move on to the house next door. Fortunately, or not, I had managed to get downstairs into the living room to see the shadow of a person move from in front of the tree to the house next door. It climbed the small fence and took up a spot, I assume somewhere near the bushes in the garden next door. Sadly, there is no conclusion to the story. I don't know what happened. I don't know if this person had gotten what they wanted, or maybe they had just simply given up. Any which way, person in the field, let's not meet. Although it doesn't seem like it, This happened quite a while back, probably over 10 years ago. I was in the later years of high school and was home alone. My parents were at a wedding that required them to stay at a hotel, and my brother worked the night shift. At that time, my family lived in a very well-known East Coast city in a blue-collar neighborhood that was starting to take a nosedive. As a teenager, I was a bit of a loner. I wasn't a nerd or anything. I was a big dude who had friends and went on dates, but I'm a natural introvert, so I cherished the rare alone time that I got. This weekend, I was looking forward to engaging in my normal empty house routine, play some PlayStation on the big screen TV, then order a late takeout dinner, pizza or Chinese, and pig out while watching some Dragon Ball Z. Then around 2 a.m., fall asleep on the couch with my big old dog, Cecile. Cecile was a beagle who was as old as the hills and had been in our family for about 8 years. He was quiet and peaceful and spent his time begging for food and sleeping. Unlike most beagles, Cecile never howled or barked. He was more than content to rest his head on your lap and spend the night there. But anyways, back to the story. It's approximately 1 in the morning. I had just finished the last slice of pizza and was dozing off on the couch. Suddenly, that's when I hear a big bang coming from the back alleyway. I didn't think much of it. Anyone who has lived in a city knows noises happen at all moments of the night. Cecile's head popped off of my lap and the hairs on his back stood up. He was always a bit skittish, so I calmed him down and started dozing off again. Not more than 2 minutes later, I hear another bang, and Cecile did something I've never seen him do before. He leaped off the couch and ran like the wind towards the door leading to the basement, barking and growling like a dog twice his size. The look on his face reminded me of a German Shepherd canine unit. I'd never seen him like that before, which got my adrenaline pumping. Through the dog's barking, I can now make out a persistent banging. There was a seldom used door in the basement that led to our back alleyway. It was old and rusted and was really hard to open, even with the key, and it made a lot of noise. I suddenly realized that someone was trying to break into my house through my basement door. Quick little bit of context for anyone who hasn't lived in a bad neighborhood. If someone tries to get into your house and moves on after they realize the door is locked, they just wanted your stuff. If someone is persistently trying to get into your house despite the door being locked, well, they want you. Knowing this, I rush upstairs to grab the heavy wood baseball bat that I keep under my bed for situations like this. Then, I head down to my basement. I probably should have ran, but I was a macho teenager with a tough guy complex, and plus, I had nowhere to go. While I'm heading down the stairs to my basement, Cecile blows past me with the speed and aggression of a dog half his age. Suddenly, I hear a man's voice say,
"Oh fuck,"
and the banging stopped. I didn't call the cops or anyone else, which was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. I just sat up for the rest of the night with the bat in my hand. My brother came home that morning and I told him what had happened. We went to the basement door to take a look and we gave it a tug, and when we gave it a tug to open it, the whole door fell off. This psycho was one good shove away from getting in my house, but good old Cecile scared him off. I'm pretty sure that lazy fat old dog saved my life. When I tell people this story, they dismiss his action as a dog doing what a dog was supposed to do. But when I tell you that Cecile never barked or moved that fast in his life, you can take that to the bank. It was almost like he knew the urgency, like he knew that door was gonna give. A few years back, we had to have him put down because he had just no will to live anymore. Before the injection, I got a moment alone with him. I thanked him one last time for his friendship and for what he did that night At this point, I was a grown man with a wife and kids. I'm convinced none of that would have happened without good old Cecile. Thanks, pal. I miss you.